Hi, my name is Carl Arnold with Arnold Law and Mediation. I'm a family law attorney and mediator. I'm here with Janeen Massaros and Jeff Postuma. Hi, guys.
Hey, Carl.
Hey, Carl.
So we're here to talk about what you call a team approach. Why don't you tell me about what is that and how did you come up with it?
Sure. Do you want to start, Jeff?
Sure. Well, Janeen and I have done early neutral evaluations for some time, a few years now, and we saw the value of that process of the early neutral evaluation with having a male-female team and be able to talk together, to process together about the information that families were sharing with us, and also to provide feedback for families and help families to come to some agreements and settlements in the E&E process. And so with that, we thought, why not give it a try for custody evaluations as well? And so we started a team approach where we have a male-female team doing the custody evaluation to provide gender balance and also to provide an opportunity for Janeen and I to put our heads together, if you will, and pull from each of our own respective expertise to come up with recommendations that are solid for families.
And so you came up with this idea. You were initially working through the early neutral evaluation process, which is typically done with a male-female team, right?
Yeah, that's right. And so for folks who might not be familiar with that, an early neutral evaluation, of course, happens very early on in the court process so that people are not put in an adversarial position with each other and are trying to work together more cooperatively. And as you said, it's a male-female team. So after we had done that for a while, we thought, well, why not try that with custody evaluation, which actually typically does occur maybe more in the later stages of a court process, and see if we can't find some value in balancing gender.
So that's kind of interesting because I haven't run into a custody evaluation that was done by a male-female team. Is that very common?
You know, I have not heard of anyone else who's doing it. Perhaps there are some people who are doing it, but no one that I've heard of.
No, I haven't heard of that either, so we thought we'd see how it works.
So one of the things that I mean, just off the top of my head, I can imagine if you're a mother, you might be happy to have both genders because you wouldn't perceive somebody as having bias one way or another. Same with a father. You wouldn't feel like, depending on the gender of the custody evaluator, you might or might not perceive a bias, and so you might get more of a sense that this is a fair shake at things. Does that sound right?
I think that would be accurate, but I also think that if you take a look at males and females, they tend to parent differently. They tend to look at the world differently. And I think that when you have a male-female team, it's a much more whole process where you're able to gather the information, and you're able to bounce the information off of each other from a male and female perspective. And so you can check to make sure that you're not missing things, that you are challenged by the other parent as far as maybe one way that you're not one of the parents but the other evaluator as far as how you might be looking at things. And so just the whole process in itself we think is a complete process when you have a male-female team in place.
Okay. And in terms of the process, where do people contact you? How do they learn about you, or where do they reach you?
Well, I'd say our typical referrals come from the attorneys themselves because somebody's working with an attorney and it becomes clear that they need some kind of an evaluation to reach a good result about custody and parenting time. So we're getting most of our referrals from family law attorneys, probably from the court themselves, although it's possible also that people can just access us directly if they know that they need some kind of an evaluation to reach a good result.
Why don't you each tell me a little bit about your backgrounds and what you bring to this team approach?
Okay. Well, my background is in social work, and I have a law degree from William Mitchell. And back in '95, when I graduated, I decided to go into alternative dispute resolution rather than practice law. So I have, for about 15, 16 years now, worked primarily with custody and parenting time issues in family court. I was a guardian ad litem from 2000 to 2008. I do a number of roles: parenting consultant, parenting expediter, mediator, and more recently then custody evaluations and parenting time evaluations. And so that's my background, and the work that I do is all about families and reaching good decisions for children.
And my background is a little bit different in that historically I worked for the Minnesota State Patrol and the Dillon Valley Police Department, and I decided that that wasn't a passion of mine. My passion was more on prevention and early intervention with families. And so I left the law enforcement background and I went into social services, where I work at an agency called Perspectives Family Center, and that's in St. Louis Park. And I've been the director of parenting programs there for about 13 years now. And that is a program where we work with fathers and mothers who might be separating, getting a divorce, and trying to help them co-parent with their children, and also providing visitation and parenting time for their children. I was guardian ad litem with Henry Family Court for 3 years, and I also have a private practice doing this type of alternative dispute resolution services with parent consulting work, visitation, expediting, custody evaluations, mediations, and such.
Where can people contact you or simply learn more about your practices and how to get a hold of you?
Well, my business is called Southern Metropolitan Mediation Services. The phone number is 952-835-5571, or my email, smms@usfamily.net.
And my business is Jeffrey F. Postuma and Associates, and you can reach me at 612-226-4342, and my email address is Postuma, my last name, P-O-S as in Sam, T-U-M-A, .Jeffrey, J-E-F-F-R-E-Y, @gmail.com.
Well, thanks a lot, Janeen and Jeff. I appreciate you having this conversation with me about your practices and team approach.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.